Good morning, world. This is Edward Bevilacqua. I'm here in Las Vegas. This is October 5th, 2018, and we're here to talk about what? I am my Connectome, Sebastian Seung TED Talk. So for the people in Reno, this is week number 2 for you. We're very proud of the progress you're making, and this is on live on YouTube right now. You're not watching it live, but it is live for the whole world to see, and we're putting it up there to help you retain the information, because as we say in class, if you learn something but you don't remember it, it's like what? Like not learning it. So you've watched the TED Talk, you've done the Quizlet on Sebastian Seung, and now this is just a follow-up to make sure that you're getting the essence of it, because our goal for this week, week number 2, is inside our school-sized kingdom. And what we're focused on is who am I? Why do I behave the way I do? The first part is I am my Connectome, which means I am nothing more than the stuff that's contained inside the neurons of my brain. If something happens to my brain, if I damage my brain, whatever area that is, gone. So you know people who've had a stroke, traumatic brain injury, etc. When something happens to their brain, they're not the person they were before. The good news is that the brain is plastic. It can relearn, it can retrain itself. And so our program, the program you're in, is really a brain smart program that's wrapped around learning business skills so you can go out and obtain stable and meaningful employment, and then head towards a meaningful and purposeful life. But this week, once again, we're talking about inside our skull-sized kingdom. There's 3 functions we talk about. 1 is the connectome, 2 is neurotransmitters, and the 3rd is the reticular activation system. Today we did TED Talk Sebastian Seung, who, by the way, has exchanged emails with our school in the past. That's today. Tomorrow is neurotransmitters, Simon Sinek, who has sort of done that through his YU educational program. We haven't had a direct contact with Sebastian, but we have with his people. And then Wednesday is the reticular activation system with Tony Robbins, Mark Dawes, and Blaine Elkers. But again, today we're focused on the connectome. What is the connectome? What is the connectome? So the connectome is a number. In humans, it's 886 billion neurons times 10,000 connections. Now, Sebastian Seung said it was about 100 billion neurons. That's before anybody figured it out. So in the longer program, we have Susanna Herculano talking about how she figured out it was 86 billion rather than 100 billion. So for our purposes, 100 or 86 billion neurons and 10,000 connections. What is stored in there? What's stored in these connections? Well, what's stored there is basically who we are. Our lived past, which is a more precise way of saying our memories, because memories can be falsified and are not necessarily true, but our actual lived past, our anticipated future, our imagination, and our ability to simulate are the primary things that are in our connectome. And these are just stored in the neurons in our brain. That's it. And we know that because if we damage the neurons in our brain, or if we're having brain surgery and they put a little electric probe on it, the person who's being probed will have an experience of something, whatever part of the brain that's touched. So why do we care? Why do we care about the connectome? Well, if we see the connectome as nothing more than where all of these things are stored, we kind of get that we're in control of what's stored in our brain. Also, we should have an appreciation for our brain and that we don't want to do things to damage our brain. What we want to do are things to fix our brain or improve our brain, make our brain better. That's what we want to do. That's what we should want to do. And most of our students, in fact, our school is dedicated to the people who are interested in a brain rehab program. They've been to jail, prison, um, had some traumatic brain injury, some traumatic event in their life. They didn't finish high school. They're not well educated, but they're motivated to obtain stable and meaningful employment. That's the people, that's our student makeup. And we're answering two questions with the Connectome. Who am I and why do I behave the way I do? Well, if we get that who I am is just what's stored in my Connectome, then I can get that if I store different things on my Connectome, I'll be a different person. Or if I damage my Connectome, I'm going to be a different person. Now, last week, we watched Neil Martin, and he talked about how we get information really to get settled into our brain. And what he said is it takes discipline and it's repetition. So we can't just think our way into a better brain. We actually have to do things to make our brain better, which is no different than exercise. You can't think your way into better health or into a more athletic body. You actually have to do things like go to the gym regularly, repetitively, and you have to have discipline if you want to change. The brain is no different. So now let's switch gears for a second and ask the question. What is the first question? What's the first question? So you can go to the insert in your table of contents in your composition book, and you'll see the first question is, was he a good presenter? And then we'll ask the question, what does that mean? What are we looking for? And your answer should be, how did I feel? Not how did he make me feel, but how did I feel as I was watching that? And we'll say, well, why do you care? Well, because good presenters bond. Why do we care about that? Well, we care about that because I want to be a good presenter, because if I'm a good presenter and I bond with you, that's the first of 3 steps to getting you to do what I want. Second step is to add value. Third step is to ask. So if I bond, I add value, you like me as a person, you're interested in what I'm talking about, and you happen to agree with me, then when I ask you to do something, if the ask is properly aligned with the bonding and adding value, you'll do it. And doing what I ask you to do means I have power, which is value neutral, just means getting other people to do what you want. And if I get you to do what I want, and that's geared towards getting money for myself, plus having meaning and purpose, meaning service to other people, it's all going to work out. It's really that simple. So, how did you feel watching Sebastian Seung? What is the emotion you felt watching Sebastian Seung? Were you interested? Were you intrigued? Other positive thoughts, motivated, inspired, etc.? Like, did you have like a little light bulb go on over your head? Aha, now I got it. Or was it more like a tool? Now I need to go, I want to go use this tool. I just got a new tool, I want to use it. This isn't easy, as we learned from Simon Sinek in another video, his most popular TED Talk, is that the part of our brain where feelings are generated doesn't have language. So as he said, it's the kind of I just don't know, I can't really put it in words, it just doesn't feel right. So this is hard, but we have to learn to articulate, to be able to put words to our feelings, because it's hard to be presenting to people, wanting them to feel something, but you can't use words to trigger those feelings. So we have to be good at recognizing the feelings we have. Okay, so what's the second question? What's the second question? The second question is, was he persuasive? And what are we looking for? We're looking for, did you learn anything? If you didn't learn anything, he's not persuasive, because you can't be persuaded to believe things, or you can't be persuaded about things you already believe. So was he persuasive? In this case, was Sebastian Seung persuasive? And why do we care? Well, because good presenters add value. That's the second part of our elegant equation of bond, add value, and ask. So was he persuasive? Did he add value? The answer should be, yeah, he added a lot of value. There's things I learned about the brain I did not know. I got to see neurons. I got to see synapses. I got to see vesicles. I got to see where neurotransmitters were. I understand how this thing works now. I understand the difference between neural activity, or what neural activity is in the brain and how it can change my connectome. So you should have learned a lot. Now you're going to forget it tomorrow if you don't review these and if you don't watch this video again. But the second question is, did he add value? Why do we care? Well, because good presenters add value. So what's the point of that? Well, I want to be a good presenter. Why? Well, because I need to get people to do what I want them to do, which means power. And if I use that power, if I get people to do what I want them to do, and it's to help me get money, plus have meaning and purpose, meaning service to others, sacrificing for other people, then it will all work out. It's really very simple. It's just a simple formula, but you got to remember it. And per Neil Martin, you have to push this down into your unconscious brain so it becomes automatic, and turn it into a belief, which we'll learn about on Wednesday, for the reticular activation system. So it's constantly scanning all information available to you to support your belief. And if you have a belief that you're a good presenter, guess what? Your reticular activation system is going to provide feedback to you to support that belief, and that's going to give you competence, give you confidence, because you're competent in doing it. So the wrap up for today, this is inside our skull-sized kingdom. To obtain stable and meaningful employment, it's important to know who we are and why we behave the way we do. And as a consequence of that, it's important for us to be able to dial in who we need to be right now. So in this circumstance, if I'm in an interview, might need to be somebody completely different than if I'm in front of a customer who's upset, but they're completely wrong, or a fellow employee who's doing improper behavior that's going to negatively impact the employer. So I need to be able to dial in who I need to be right now. And also, if I know how my brain works, I know how your brain works. And if I know how your brain works, I can influence your behavior through the release of neurotransmitters, which will help get the outcome that I'm looking for, which means, again, I would have power. And if I use the power to obtain money and have meaning and purpose in my life, then it's all going to work out. If my goal is just to have money, then bad things are going to happen. I'll start chasing money, and money is never going to make you happy. Money is what money does. It's just a thing. It just enables people to experience more. And if you think it's going to lead to happiness, you'll be mistaken. One reason is we have something called hedonic adaptation. So whatever you get that makes you happy, after a period of time, you're not going to be so happy, and then you're not going to be happy with it. So chasing money to give you happiness is not going to get you there. Anyway, that's a quick recap of what we're doing. Please, let's see, add this video to your TED Talk list so that you can review it, because it's important to remember this. Thank you for being there. This is Edward Bevilacqua in Las Vegas, signing out.